But after experiencing the weather down there, I was thankful that I hadn't been there during the war, because it was mighty cold.
Yeah,
So-
I remember when I got discharged in *54, I came home and I asked, hey, where's Rudy and Dick Kalung? And they're in the army. They were drafted.
So you beat them by leaving high school.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, Rudy, mom and dad, when did they come to Colton? Early 1900s or something?
The early 1900s, they came from Leon, Guanajuato, Mexico.
Uh-huh.
And with them, when they came, they had two of my older brothers with them, which there's a picture where they must have been, maybe 3 years old, 2 years old. And so they were born in Mexico. And
Now, which two brothers? Was this Angie?
there was Agustin and Angie,
Okay.
Angel.
Okay.
Agustin was the eldest one, and then Angie, and they were the first three of eight boys, and the rest of us were born here in the United States.
Okay, Nancy born in Mexico.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. But Angie was in the service, so he became a citizen. And I guess Augustine, the eldest, I think he went to school and became a citizen.
Mhm. So they came here in the early 1900s, and they came from Mexico,
Mhm.
and they stayed in Colton then.
Yes,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
And Bobby, you didn't come directly from Mexico to Colton. Your parents went to, was it Kansas?
Actually, when they were in Mexico, that was around the time, the 1910 was the last revolution
Right.
in Mexico. They were trying to get their freedom from Porfirio Diaz, the president of Mexico. So my father was in the army with the Federalistas, a soldier. So when he met my mother, my father was from Guanajuato and my mother was from this other place, I can't remember the other place. My mother was an Indian, Yaqui Indian. And when they met, they got married. And my mother finally convinced my father that he was on the wrong side. So my father deserted the army and they joined Pancho Villa. So they fought with Pancho Villa, my mother and my father. And while the men were fighting, my mother and the rest of the ladies were carrying bedding, pots and pans, and while there were no doctors or nurses, they were nursed angel,
So she was kind of the original Adelita. The original Adelita that helped the soldiers.
Yeah, they call them soldaderas.
Yeah.
Soldaderas, and some of them used to hold rank. Some of the soldaderas, like captains and colonels and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And they would fight along with Pancho Villa.
And then they went from Mexico, where did they go?
Well, at that time my mother got pregnant, so one of his friends told him, being that he deserted from the army, he better get out of Mexico and go into the United States. So they crossed El Paso around 1950. They crossed El Paso. And at that time there were a lot of people just waiting for Mexican people to come across the United States, So there was a truck that hired them, my mother and my father, and they took them up to Salt Lake City, where my father went to work for the railroad. And then they stayed up there for almost 5 years, and my mother was pregnant and she lost the first child, And then later on she had her second child, which is Mary Flores, my older sister. They were in Salt Lake City. From then, my father heard there was a lot of work in the railroad in Southern California. So from then they came into Colton, on Salt Lake City, and they landed there in Colton in 1929.
Okay, okay.
Well, there they rented a hotel on the second floor of the building right there on which 8th Street, La Cadena, you know, but
Sí.
they call it 8th Street then. And Jay, it was a building where the store, Helmut's department store, used to be. And they had rooms up there for rent. So they came in and rented a room up on top of the second floor. And next morning, my dad came down from the room because he was gonna go buy something to eat. And while he was walking down the street, there was a man calling him, Gonzalo, Gonzalo. So my father turned around and he saw that it was Isa Lopez, my mother's brother. So he asked my father, hey, where's my sister Marina? And you know, she's up there in the hotel room. So he took her up there to him. And they met up there. My mother started crying, meeting her brother, you know. Isa and his family had came directly to Colton. So Isa told my mom that he had a surprise for her. And he took him down to South Colton between in M Street, between 7th and between 8th, La Cadena and 7th Street. And right in the middle, that's where Isa Lopez used to live. And most of his family lived there too. And that, my mother's parents also lived there. So he took her took my mother to see her parents, and they were
So it's a wonderful reunion.
Yeah.
It's a great reunion. And that's when you
And my father and Isa Lopez, they used to work for the cement plant.
Okay.
And my grandfather, Chencho Crucento, Chencho,
Yeah.
he worked for the cement plant too, but the only job he did was to feed the mules and water them and get them ready for work next day. Because the mule was the only transportation they had, you know, to bring the cement down from the hill. So after a while, he retired.
And how many brothers and sisters do you have, Bobby?
I had 4 brothers and 3 sisters.
And I remember your little brother Raul.
Yeah.
He played football with me at Colton High School. Good football player. So it runs in the family, brother.
No, he didn't play. What I heard was that he got in trouble one time at school, and they told him that if he played football, they would not do anything. So he went out for football, but he didn't last too long.
We played the freshman year, his
Oh, did you?
freshman year. I played with him his freshman year. Yeah, he's a very good ball player. Yeah. Let me kind of change the subject a little bit. In the middle book there, Bobby, in the middle book that's there, you wrote an article on the Colton Mercuries. Tell me about the Colton Mercuries.
Well, the Colton Mercury is something that way back in about 1938 or 39, there was a group of men that there in South Colton that wanted to make a softball team. So they picked a few ones, you know, and the person that was Robert Rosales, I don't know if you know him.
My neighbor, my
Robert
grandbrother.
Rosales.
See,
He was up there where he used to live.
O Street, yeah.
You know, on North Street. Him and a guy, Rob Martinez, and, well, a group of those guys, they built a softball team there. And they play right there in that park, you know, on the corner of 7th and La Cadena. There was an empty lot there. And they play there on weekends, you know, and regular clothes, you know. And they play anybody that wanted to play with them, you know. And then from then on, well, they continued playing. And then in South Colton, there was a Veterans Park. And they had a Mexican guy working up there by the name of Gabe Castorena. And everybody was wondering what Gabe Castellano was working for the city of Colton, because they wouldn't hire Mexicans in the city of Colton then. So apparently, being that the park was in South Colton, no white guy wanted to work over there. So they gave that job to Gabe Castellano. And being that he had a ballpark there with lights, you know, and he contacted the boys there that they wanted to use the ballpark, you know, to practice and play, you know, with lights and everything. So from then on, they went up there, and that's where they started, you know, Colton Mercury's.
And I hear they were pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a lot of the first guys that started was Robert Rosales, Gus Leon,
Teo
Gus
Duarte,
Leon,
Teo Duarte,
Freddy Vasquez, who else?
Teo Duarte,
Teo Duarte, Tony Garcia,
Charlie Martinez.
Ralph Martinez, the catcher, Charlie and Pet Carranza were the pitchers. They were from High Grove. Willie Rivera. And they started, they eventually, you know, they started playing, Gabe Castellano wanted to buy uniforms for them. So he went out to the stores, the business bit in South Colton to see if they would donate money to buy the uniforms. And which they did, they agreed to it, they bought uniforms, green, red, white, and green. But you found later that Carmelita, they okay. It was Martinez Market that put the money up
Yeah.
to buy the uniforms.
Yeah, they were one
Because
of the,
Baker Martinez used to be in the team.
Okay,
Hmm.
okay. And he was with the bakery store.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
it was the owner of Martinez Market
Uh-huh.
was the one that put up the money to buy the uniforms.
Mhm, mhm.
And then from then on, they started playing games. You know, they going in San Bernardino. They had a league called they used to have games up there. The city of San Bernardino used to have games. People playing up the teams and all that, and they would play the Mercury's, and then they started going out of town playing. You know, they even went to Mexico, to Tijuana and Calexico and all those towns up there to play over there, and they always came back victorious. You know.
Yeah, I hear that they were pretty good, and then they decided in the late 40s, they decided to become pro, but each city could only have one semi-pro team,
Mhm.
and they had the Hubbards. The Hubbards were the Anglo team from North Colton, so the Mercury's challenged them for a game 2 out of 3, and whoever won would represent Colton.
Yeah, they had this professional league, softball professional league. There was other teams around, you know. So the Mercury's wanted to join the league, you know. But being that Colton already had a team playing there, which were the Colton Harbors,
Right,
nothing but white guys.
right.
You know, they wouldn't allow two teams from one city to be there to join. So before the season started next, the Mercury started challenging the Harbors, you know, to play a couple of games. See if they win, they would join the league, you know. So the Colton Mercury beat the Harbors. And the point is that the Harbors were all white guys that went to high school with the Mercury and all that. Carl Swing, Dave Swing brother, Hal Pierce,
Harold Priest.
Ed Tamby, Marty, who else the Allen white guys? Well, in other words, they beat them and then the Mercury joined the league.
So
But there
they-
was another team from Bloomington, the Cedar Lumber, that also joined the league, you know. And they played, we used to go to Paris Hill Park to see them. San Bernardino, they had a guy named Neil McDermott. They used to own a bar in San Bernardino, the Prop Room.
Proper.
And he had a team that played in the league. And most of the Colton players like Carl Swing and Pierce and all those guys, Tamby, they went to play in San Bernardino.
Mhm.
They played for the prep group.
Mhm.
And the rest of them went to City Lumber.
Yeah. I understand that the Mercuries played one of the major leagues that were training in Paris Hill. Do you remember that team?
Oh, they just didn't, after the football faded away, they also played baseball. And some of the players that play softball, they also play baseball. They had a bunch of good players. Colton had a bunch of good players. And Ralph Martinez and his brother,
Ray?
Ray, they were pretty. Ray Martinez actually played 2 years to the Oakland Oaks of the Pacific Coast Conference then.
Uh-huh.
A very strong Triple A.
How about Art Miguel?
Who?
Art Miguel from Corona? First
Oh, Art
baseman?
Miguel, he came from Corona and he joined the baseball team. And he played professional ball, the St. Louis Browns of the old American League.
What about the Abril brothers?
Oh, Manuel and Ernie Abreu. I played ball with them, we used to play American Legion ball in high school. But there were two twins that were raised together. And they were very close, always together. And Ernie Abreu, in his senior year in Colton High School, he batted 700 and some in his senior year.
700?
And that's when the Pittsburgh Pirates drafted him. And they not only drafted him, but they also drafted his brother. They drafted both of them. So they went to play with the Pittsburgh Pirates, traveling, But then the Korean War interrupted and they went to Korea, both of them. After the Korean War ended, they came back and they started going back to Pittsburgh with the Pittsburgh Pirates, traveling all over, Triple A and all that, Texas League and all that.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
And the last team that they were in Lincoln, Nebraska. In Lincoln, Nebraska, there was a guy named, I can't remember the name of that guy. That guy had hit 87 home runs in Lincoln, Nebraska, Triple A for the Pirates. So the Pirates right away was going to bring him up next year. But they also wanted Ernie. They wanted Ernie to go up to play in a big time league. And Ernie told him, well, what about my brother? Well, right now there's not room for your brother, we just want you. And he said, well, if my brother don't go, I'm not going to go.
Okay.
Yeah, that's,
Lot
so
of loyalty
they
there.
came home.
A lot of loyalty there.
Yeah.
Loyalty there.
So they came home. But they were so close together that they didn't want to be separated. So Ernie said, no, we're going to go home.
Yeah.
So they came down. And then they came down and started playing with the Colton Mercuries.
Right. Let me get back to the politicians in Colton. We talked about Jeremias, 1941. We talked about Pete Lukey in the 50s, and then we talked about Pascual in the 60s, and Abe in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and then Frank Gonzalez. Tell me about Manuel Padilla, because when I read some of the things, one of the dedication pages that you have in your book, you say that Manuel Padilla was one of the guys that helped Colton tremendously in social issues that involved our people.
Yes, he was very involved with political organizations and the civic organizations in South Colton. In fact, we were talking about Angel being active. He was a very close friend to Manuel Padilla,
Okay.
and they used to work together. So he did a lot of good for the Colton community in South Colton, and parades,
Los de Fiestas Patrias.
las fiestas patrias, and well, he was involved with the Congress of Community Clubs, and so he did a lot for the city of Colton.
And where did he live?
He lived on N Street.
Before they built the underpass there.
Oh, the, under the railroad, yeah,
Mhm.
okay.
Yeah, that's where they lived. They lived, the Rubios lived right there next to them, and Rudy Serrano lived across the street.
Okay,
And Abe Beltran lived down the street on the corner.
uh-huh,
So they were all neighbors.
yeah. Manuel was very involved in the Congress of Community
He was,
Clubs
he
and
was.
social issues. Tell me about his sisters.
Tula.
Tula and
Tula Padilla.
I